So in this class we are going to learn that how cultural dimensions have an effect on the behavior of a person. So let's understand what is a dimension and what is cultural dimension. So basically dimensions are the trends of a behavior in a given society, or let's say different parameters that are there. So in a society, in a culture, there are different kind of dimensions, and we are going to see the cultural dimensions are that these parameters that are there, these trends that are there, how these trends in a given society or the value of the dimensions, how it is affecting the behavior of a person. So majorly we are going to talk about Hofstede's cultural dimensions. Here in the diagram you can see that these are all the dimensions, cultural dimensions that we are going to study and how it affects our behavior. So let's do one by one. Very first one is power distance index. What does distance index means? It is that how much a given culture gives value to the status and authority in the social hierarchy. Extent to which culture gives respect to authority and status. So basically how a culture treats the hierarchy, social hierarchy or the power hierarchy of a society. More the distance is, or let's say if somebody is scoring, if a culture is scoring more on power distance index, it means it accepts more of hierarchy. So the power is distributed to certain set of people with higher status, higher authority, and lesser to the other class, to the lower class. So there is a lot of levels of hierarchy here, lot of levels of power and authority here, and the society accepts this kind of a hierarchy in the society. Okay, so this is what they are higher on power distance index. Second is lower power distance index. Lower power distance index means that the hierarchy is not much accepted. The power is distributed almost equally among all the class people. So there is not much of hierarchy. There is no, higher level people, lower level people. So the distribution, the equal rights and how they treat people, how the power is distributed, all these is distributed very much equally amongst the people, irrespective of their class, irrespective of their status. Second dimension is individualism versus collectivism. Now there are some cultures who are more collectivist in nature. They have everything referring to as we. They consider as people maybe of their family, of their apartment, of their religion, of their own culture. So it is more of what we think as a family, we think as a group. So our inclination is more towards the thinking, the thought processes of we rather than I. Individualism on the other end are the cultures where it is more of an I, individualism. So I don't care what other people think. This is what I want. This is my opinion. This is what my thought process is. So it is very individualistic in nature. The third dimension is uncertainty ambiguity index. What does this mean? So first let's understand what is the terminology ambiguity here means. Ambiguity here means that how strict society is towards people's behavior, to the society's behavior, and how much they are open to change. So ambiguity means how much they are unconventional, how much they are open to the change that is there in the society. This is ambiguity. Now tolerance of ambiguity would mean that a society is not having too many strict rules and they are very open for change. So they are more tolerant in nature. So a society that is high on uncertainty ambiguity index, they are likely to be very rigid. They like more traditional thoughts. They don't like too many changes. They dislike or disown people in the society who are more into unconventional ideas and try to hold on to the very rigid beliefs and attitudes. This is to be done. This is how you should be wearing the clothes. Or maybe, particular gender should work and the other gender should not work. You can't go alone out if you are of this particular gender. So, women not going out, women not doing this or that. So there are certain thought processes that means they are higher on the end of uncertainty ambiguity index. Anybody who is lower on the index means they're more open to change. They're more tolerant towards the conventional rules, and they're very unconventional. They are easy with the changes. They are not very traditional. The next dimension is masculinity versus femininity. Now, in cultural dimensions, it is not what we call as masculine or being feminine. It's quite different. So, any society culture which is more masculine in nature means they focus more on competition, on achievement, on wealth. If a society is more feminine in nature, it means they are more into cooperation, more into relationship, more into harmony, more into quality of life. Now, listen to this carefully, that any given culture, if it is masculine in nature, that applies for both men and women. That both men and women are very competitive, very ambitious, and much into wealth. If a given society is feminine in nature, that means that cultural people, both men and women, are inclined more towards relationships, cooperation, and good quality of life. Next cultural dimension is long-term versus short-term orientation. This particular dimension is linked with your focus on either on future or connection with the past. So any culture that is more focused towards the long-term orientation means they are more focusing on the future. So they are not very traditional in nature. They don't hold on to the past. They focus more on the development, more on the change, more what is coming in the future. Any culture who has short-term orientation, it means they like to stay with their roots. They are more into the traditions. They are more connected with their past rather than future. Next cultural dimension is indulgent versus restraint. It means cultures who are more into indulgent, they are very open, they are not very strict, there are no strict rigid social norms, and they are free to do what they want to do. So they have a lot of openness in accepting the new things, and they can follow their heart basically. And any culture who is into restraint, it means that they are more into rigid, strict rules, social norms, and they are not open to do what they want to do. They have to be restricted by the society, so they are very rigid social norms, strict social norms for them. Studying cultural dimensions are very, very important because of international diplomacy, international business, and all that. Nowadays, we have already studied in the introduction of social psychology that how the whole planet is becoming so globalized. When so much of globalization is happening, people are migrating, we are moving from one culture to the other or one country to the other, and we really want to grow. There is a lot of mixing that is happening. So when that is happening, we are moving, we are migrating. It is very, very important that you understand the cultural norms, these cultural dimensions. Because if you will not understand these cultural dimensions, you might not be able to respect or understand the culture of the other society, of the other country, and you might fail in business then. So that is why it is very, very important. I'll just give you an example here. For example, Korea is high on power distance index. America is lower on power distance index. What does this mean? So let's say a person of a lower distance power index goes to a higher place. Okay, there he might feel that, I have to take consent of everyone. Let's take a joint decision and, for the company. And then if I am the boss and I am coming from a lower distance index, a power distance index, I might feel that let's take a joint decision for the company. If I do that, you know what people are going to think? People from higher power distance index, they are going to think that why you are consulting us? You are the boss. You have to take a decision. Why you are talking to us? It is not our job. It is your job. And then they might not respect you as a leader, which is a bad thing. And then you might fail as a leader. On the other hand, if a person from a higher power distance index goes to a lower one, they might, take the decision all by themselves. In that case, people from lower power distance index might think, what kind of a boss is he? He didn't even consult us. He took the decision for the company all by itself. And again, this might fail you as a leader. So that is the reason it is very important when we are dealing with people of different culture, when we are doing business on an international level, we must understand these different cultural dimensions so that we can deal with different cultural people in a very different way. So Hofstede said very rightly that we should not stereotype. Stereotyping can be dangerous and not ethical. Because when we stereotype, we are saying that every single person of this culture is likely to behave in such manner. No, it is not always that. Maybe two different people of the same culture can be very different. Or two people from different cultures can be very same. So there are definitely individual similarities and individual differences. We should not stereotype. But why we are learning cultural dimensions? We are learning cultural dimensions just to understand that in general, what can we have a bit of expectation at the back of the mind? What can we expect from the person, that how they are going to react to a certain situation? So this is just a general thing and cannot be applied to every specific person of that culture. So if you liked my video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to write anything in the comments below if you have not understood or if you enjoyed the video. Please do write in the comments and I would be happy to help you with providing more supporting studies and counter arguments.